8th grade is just the homework we're bringing. Very good. Thank you so much. Yes.
Is exponents. And actually, we have the curriculum writer responsible for Unit 2 here. Duff.
Raise your hand,
Raise your hand, Duff.
Okay.
So Duff is out. So blame Duff. We wanted to just give them a shout out for his hard work this summer. It's a lot of work, and I don't want to make you believe that it's not, or it's easy, or it's a shortcut. We did our unpacking before we wrote the curriculum. There is still unpacking to do before it's delivered to students. So keep that in mind. But what does it mean to implement the Common Core standards for math instruction? So you know, we have two sets of standards in mathematics. We have the practices and we have the content standards. And when we talk about multiple standards, we're not just talking about all content standards, 2 or more content standards. We're talking about those practices paired with the content standard as well. So keep that in mind. We want you to think of the content standards as your mathematical concepts, and your practices as those behaviors that students should be displaying in your class during math instruction. So practices are behaviors. The content is those concepts that they're responsible for at their grade level.
Stay right there. I like to say, just think of the what and the how.
The what?
The what and the how. Okay.
So let's look at what should be happening when teachers are implementing the content part of the thing. What do you think is going to be the hardest for your teacher?
If students go read from answer.
That third one, especially as a math teacher, and I've been guilty of it too. We look and we listen for the right answer, and we're gone. Keep moving. So it's going to, you're going to have to sort of unlearn that behavior as an instructor. The focus is not on the right answer; it's the thinking and the process and the road that got you to that particular answer.
And the kids too. Absolutely.
Right.
Especially your brighter children who say to you, I already know how to multiply and divide fractions, I don't know how to. I mean, you know, really, that's like, why are you making me do it? Why are you asking me?
Right.
And then a prime, and I always have to tell it, so you might have heard it before, forgive me. When we were first learning IFL and we were in Pittsburgh and all of the contents were together, and they gave us that, you know, that famous hexagon task. They gave us that task, and every math teacher was finished in 2 minutes. When they asked us to explain it a different way, we were stuck. And it was a social studies teacher who actually connected the picture to the equation. And so that's the type of behavior that you'll see for kids who really got it right away, who can call on that algorithm to get it, but understanding it conceptually is a whole nother ballgame. So just be aware of that and keep that in the forefront of your mind. So the focus is going to be on the critical thinking. And that means there's room for errors, there's room for mistakes. You've got to set the environment that's safe for kids to make mistakes.
Yes.
You have the time built in now. You had 18 days for 2 standards in the first unit. And teachers were saying, what do I do after the 4th day? Because I'm finished with these 2 standards. That's where the practices come in, because you're going to be looking for multiple ways to teach standards. It's very important when you look at this standard, you look at the practices as well. So I have to teach my students how to do this. Think of factually what goes along with it factually, what goes along with it conceptually, and what goes along. That means models, what type of models, how can I represent this in a different way? And then you're gonna be looking at the procedural type things. Algorithms are important, practice is important, you have the time for it. So all of that worksheets there's room for Common Core worksheets. Room for worksheets in Common Core. Practice is very important in Common Core. But so are models, and so are the basic general facts of the mathematics. So keep that in mind. But these are the things that the teachers need to focus on. Remember, you have a PowerPoint, you don't need to copy, you have it on your PDLT website. You don't have to copy, you can copy your notes, just focus on how you're going to do it. Go to the practices, but the 8 practices inside your folder, you actually have a look for sheet. We gave you a poster, and you're going to be using that poster for planning, but we also give you a look for sheet in your folder. It's on the right side of the folder. And it's what should be happening with the student and the teacher when you see evidence of the practices in play in a classroom. So take a look at that sheet. When you look at your objective, and you look at your standard, and you start to form your objectives from those standards, think about where those objectives lie in relationship to the practices. If I'm going to be teaching for the first, and I keep referring to the first unit because that's the one I'm going to say. So for the first unit, when they were rationalizing, when they were estimating square roots or irrational numbers, how many ways can you approach that with the practice? We know that they were reasoning with practice too, quantitatively abstracted when they went to the number line. That number line is also what? A tool, and it's also modeling. So after I taught them how to estimate on the number line, I may want to go to also the calculator, just to get them familiar with. Is it a calculator standard? No. Can I use technology or a calculator to teach, to get them to understand, to get them used to estimating, to get them used to recognizing perfect squares? I can use that as a tool. They don't test from it, no. Okay. And then I can look at some common errors with that same objective. How are kids approaching it? What are some of the common mistakes? I'm going to give that to them as a question. What mistake did this student make? So that's 3 different, the same objective coupled with 3 different practices for 3 different lessons. So that's how you build in those 8, that's how you should have built in those 18 days with those 2 standards. Okay, so they're not an afterthought. That's the main thing you want to. Practices are not an afterthought. You should be planning right along with the content standard. Any questions about the practices or the content standard or that sheet, that resource that you have in front of you?
Are the practices up and evident in the rooms? Yeah. Okay, cool. Because if they're not, you know where to download them, correct?
Where in a document can you find the practices specific to that unit?
How many places can you find the mathematical practice in the document?
Page 3 or 4, page 7 and 8.
Okay, what's page 7 and 8?
That's all
Mathematical
we
practice.
look
For your what?
For who? Okay, what does it say?
Calculated students.
But for who is that? It's only specific for who? Grade
Eight.
So the reason why I want you to know that, because if you pick up a 7th grade document, their practices are
Totally
different.
different.
You pick up a 6th grade one, they're different. So that's your general mathematical practices for grade 8 for the year. Now, where else can you find the mathematical practices? Okay, what pages? Okay, she said in the unit at a glance, those are just some ones that we recommended for you to use at a particular standard.
So that last column of the unit at a glance, where else?
And this one is really important. Your team, when you collaborative plan, you should be using this one. Which one?
Page 14, it has mathematical practices on it.
And what is this? What is that mathematical practice for?
Practices to be explicitly emphasized for this particular unit.
For this unit.
So these are the practices for this
So
unit.
Yes.
that is the same in every document specific to that
That
particular
unit.
unit. You'll find those practices, and those are just instructional strategies for you to use to incorporate that practice into that unit.
So that's important. That sheet would change with every unit because it'll be specific to that particular unit. And that's why I
Unit glance is
said
the
your
third
7th grade
column.
teachers are looking at this. It's
And
no
then on
big deal
page
because they have
14,
that same component in their
it starts
document.
specific.
The high school has it in their document. Algebra and geometry have it in their document.
So yeah, it's in all of the documents, secondary documents, those same 3 places.
Okay. Have you been using those, or was this a aha? Cool. Okay.
So think about your teachers and look at this picture. And which describes your teacher team in your buildings.
Can we have them turn and talk on this
You
one?
can turn and talk on this one, and then at least 2 or 3 people be prepared to share.
Yeah, let them talk.
Tell the truth.
Can you repeat the question?
Your team with your school, your math team, which picture and why? Why does this represent your team?
Unpacking and standards.
In relation to
In relation to unpacking and standards. Turn and talk.
Now, it's almost like they missed that though. Now they have a thorough foundation, but actually, that's the
Okay, so with the first picture, I interpreted that as, kind of like touching the surface of whatever the content was and not really going into it deeply. But that was kind of a byproduct of the old curriculum where you had to hit and quit. You did your little bit and then moved on because you had so much that you needed to cover in that, in a short period of time. Right now, that was talking. No, I wasn't even thinking about curriculum. Second, it's more with Common Core, you're digging deeper, you're making connections to other concepts that you have covered, and it's not just that one topic on that one day and then we're moving on. Everything is, it's giving us more opportunity to go into the content to allow students to experience the content and hopefully retain everything and make connections to not just math, but everywhere else.
So where's your team?
Well, we're somewhere in between.
Somewhere.
Okay.
Knee deep in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, anybody else?
Different perspective.
Different perspective?
Oh, come on, you guys. Same Richard. Thank you, Richard.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Richard Belknap. I'm the IoT and PDLT at Grim Park Middle. And one thing that I noticed was you don't know what you have until it's gone.